Hello and welcome to this SilverStripe screencast. In this episode we're going to be talking about how to create your first theme in SilverStripe. So let's go over what we'll cover here. First we'll talk about what a theme is, and then we'll go over building out your theme structure, specifically as it relates to the file system. Then we'll create our first template in SilverStripe. And lastly, we'll activate our theme so that it overrides the default theme that comes with SilverStripe. All right, so what is a theme? Well, in a conventional SilverStripe project, the code and business logic of a website is kept separate from the UI and design elements. You might call this the front end and the back end separation. More specifically, you could say that PHP classes and configuration files are kept in the project directory, while templates, CSS, images, and probably JavaScript are kept in the theme directory. In a default installation of SilverStripe, your project directory is called mysite and it lives at the web root. Your theme directory, however, is located one level deeper under themes. Because the code layer is detached from the UI, any given project can have multiple themes. Let's build our first theme by creating a new folder under themes. The folder name is arbitrary, but it must be comprised of only alphanumeric characters, dashes, or underscores. In this lesson, we'll call the folder 1-ring, which refers to the name of our website, One Ring Rentals. But you can feel free to choose any name you like, just remember it because we'll need to refer to it later. So underneath your theme directory, you can create some subfolders so your theme has the following structure. We'll create CSS, images, JavaScript, and templates. And underneath the templates folder, we need to create layout with a capital L and an includes folder with a capital I. Most of these folders are pretty self-descriptive, but the only two that are compulsory are CSS and templates. Underneath templates, the includes and layout folders are required to be named as such, but if you're not going to use them, you don't need to have them. It's a very rare case where you won't have to have those subfolders in templates though. But just to reiterate, you can have any sort of other folders you want in here. You can rename images to something else. You can name your JavaScript JS if you want. And further, you might even want to have like a less folder or a SCSS folder. Anything else you want to throw in there is fine. It's completely up to you. Next, we'll create the most fundamental component of a theme, and that is a template. In SilverStripe, templates are not just HTML documents, but rather PHP code that is compiled from SilverStripe's own template syntax behind the scenes. You don't ever have to worry about how that code is compiled. You're going to be writing in a template syntax. But to make that distinction clear, we have to name our templates with the .ss extension. So in your templates directory, create a file called page.ss. And inside that file, we'll create a basic HTML document. Why are we calling it page.ss? Well, the default installation of SilverStripe ships with a page type called page. Typically, this page type is used to display the most basic form of content in your project. It might be the About Us page or terms and conditions, privacy policy, that sort of thing. So by default, every page in SilverStripe is going to use this template. So we'll create this page.ss so we can see all the pages working integrated in our theme. The last thing we'll have to do is activate our theme so that it overrides the default theme that comes with SilverStripe. And to do that, we'll have to go into the project directory and we'll open the config.yml file in the mysite_config directory. Under the heading SS Viewer, take note of the setting for theme, and we'll just change it to our theme, which is 1-ring. These files are written in YAML, which you can learn more about on the web. There's all sorts of tutorials and descriptions of how this works, but it's basically just another markup language like JSON or XML, and it's used typically for configuration files like this. The most important thing you have to know about YAML in SilverStripe is that anytime you make a change to one of these files, you have to flush the cache, and you do that by appending a request parameter to the URL, which is flush. So all that means is just append $flush to your URL, and that'll flush the cache. So now that we've done that, we've flushed the cache and we can see our Hello World template displaying. So our theme is working, and at this time you can feel free to delete the simple theme from your themes directory. We don't need that anymore. We have branched out on our own and we'll continue to build from here. So let's create a directory called static in our theme. You might remember that in the theme directory, all the subfolders are arbitrary, so you can feel free to create something like this. You can call it anything you want. You can call it HTML, or some people might call it raw, source, anything that you might be familiar with. Just remember what the name is. And in that directory, we're just going to dump all of our static assets. Be sure to preserve the file structure. Since we've used relative paths for all the assets in this static template, we should be able to load it without a problem. So let's test it out. We're going to go to our base URL /themes/onering/static, or whatever you call the directory, /default HTML. And when we load it, we do see that it renders perfectly. And we'll do the same thing with the home.html template. Looks good. So now that we've brought this static site into SilverStripe, we have a place to start, and we can start carving it up into SilverStripe templates. So the first thing we'll do is copy over the static HTML into a SilverStripe template. We'll start with default.html. This mockup is intended to represent the most basic of page types in our site. SilverStripe conventionally purposes the page.ss template for this case. So copy everything from default.html into templates/page.ss. That template currently contains our hello world proof of concept. So just reload the site and see what we get. And it looks pretty bad. You can see that the HTML is loaded, but basically nothing else has. So we have some pathing to correct here at the very least. So let's just copy everything over from that static directory into its appropriate place in the theme. So static/CSS is going to go back to onering/CSS. Static/images is going to go to themes onering/images, etc. Let's give it another try. And it still looks like an unstyled mess. So the easiest thing to do here is just go to your web inspector and see what's going on. Obviously, we're getting a lot of red errors here, a lot of 404s. So let's see what it's trying to access and we'll correct it. So we see here that the browser is trying to load css/bootstrap.min.css, which is incorrect. Let's update all of the CSS to load from our theme directory. So let's go into our template and update all those href attributes. So css/bootstrap.min is going to become themes/onering/css/bootstrap.min.css. And css/style.css is going to become themes/onering/css/style.css. Now if we reload the page, we see a bit more style. We're still missing a few things. Looks like all the JavaScript isn't loading, the logo is missing. But before we make those adjustments, let's talk about something called themedir. As a matter of best practice, we never really want to repetitively hard code any values in our template that are subject to change. This principle is more commonly referred to as dry, or don't repeat yourself. We'll talk more about dry practices in future tutorials, but for now, the main offender of this rule is our reference to themes/onering. SilverStripe provides a global helper variable that returns our current theme directory, and that variable is called $themedir. So we'll replace all the references to themes onering with $themedir. So nothing really changes, but we can feel good knowing that if we ever change our theme, we don't have to make any updates to the template, so that's great. Now let's see if we can do something about the remaining 404s. Let's update all of the script tags to point to themedir/JavaScript instead of JS. You'll find most of these updates at the bottom of the document. Let's give it another refresh. And we're only left with one remaining 404, and that is the logo. So let's go in and find that logo.ping and update the path to go to themedir/images. Everything loads correctly now, and we have successfully migrated a static document into a SilverStripe theme. And we can go in and just delete that JavaScript folder that we created with our theme. The static version of the site uses JS, so let's just go with that. Thanks for tuning into this screencast. If you have any questions or comments, please post them below.